Hello, everyone. I'm Marty Chinesky, and welcome back to Local Sports Wrap Up. I have missed everybody that is out there. We have a new concept. I have two guest hosts. I have Ken Brown and George Perdue. They both have sat in for our good friend Ken Montroy, and now we're going to do it. We're going to have a trilogy.
All right.
There we go.
Because
I like that.
this way we get more. Instead of so much reading, we're going to do a little more talking and discussing. I think it will play better. Our producers think it'll play better, and they're in charge. So we'll let them make all the decisions. So it's been 5 months since we've done any of this before. A lot has happened in the sports world, and nothing has happened in the sports world at the same time. It was football when Wyandotte was just going to play that last playoff game of theirs, and I think you were there.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go out and watch them play Oak Park High School, and Wyandotte looked good. They did come up short, but without a doubt, I would think Jalen was the best athlete on the field, and you could see it. It just came through the screen, so it was phenomenal to see it in person. Mr. Perdue, what do you know about
Yeah,
that?
and so, and Jalen was one of those rare athletes that, actually was starting quarterback for 3 years, and that was kind of rare. Coach Adams hasn't really done that too often. We were talking right before we came on, not only was Jalen a great athlete, but just got named last week as one of the top 10 seniors in his graduating class for his GPA, which it's been a while since we've had a football player actually end up in the top 10. We were talking about that at lunch a few days ago, and he has a full ride to Northwood, so great for him. Just a great kid. I see him working out all the time after school and, just kind of getting ready. And that's, a lot of these kids, that was one of the hardest parts, I think, of these last few months was just kind of staying active. I mean, a lot of things were shut down. And, I think that was one of the hardest things these kids had to do is just kind of keep going with things and just keeping themselves in shape.
How are things, they just, a couple weeks into full in the school, and you teach. How many, you got 35 kids packed in a room? What is that all about? What is that like?
We've kept the numbers lower than what we normally have. We're finishing up tomorrow, week 2, and it's like if you walked around the school, there's some differences. Lunches are a little bit different. Sports-wise, and that was a thing. Talking to some of the coaches, the preparation was definitely not as what it was usually there for. They kind of had that little bit of getting ready in November, but then when everything kind of shut down, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything until January, and having that time off for a lot of these programs was tough. These really, when you look at it, like a lot of these sports would have ended already. Wrestling would have ended, bowling would have ended. All these sports would have pretty much been done a week ago, and now they're just kind of gearing up for the end of their leagues and districts coming up. So
Yeah, I thought it was going to be interesting to see how obviously they've done it now, but to come back to football after taking that break, because you're right, those kids didn't get to practice in preparation for the next round.
Right.
So it was interesting to see, because football is a technical game and it's based on timing and things of that nature, so there's no way you could not have practice for weeks on end and continue to see the same quality. So I don't know, maybe Wyandotte lucked out by not winning that game and having to come back, and play a tougher opponent then.
Well, I know that all my Facebook memories are of good things last year and the year before, 2 years ago, and they were already done, end of February.
Yep.
And now here we are in March, and we just finished our bowling season, and I will say that we lack of preparation. We tried to cram a lot into a little. We bowled nine meets in about 4 weeks, maybe 5. It was tough. It was a lot of practice in short amount of time, and normally you get a chance to nurture kids through any sport, and here we were just throwing them to the dogs, right?
It's like on-the-job training.
It was on-the-job training for a couple of the girls that were seniors, varsity for the first time. And, it was a culture shock a little bit.
how was it, and I know I've talked to some of the kids about this, but obviously the aspect of not having all the teams there at once, which you were used to having, and not having fans. Like, how much does that change the dynamic of not having, well, I'm sure as a coach, maybe parents, maybe the kids might think differently of it, but all these venues, having either only one person or no fans, how did that kind of play out for you guys?
Well, it was quiet. It was quiet except for the teams. We had 4 teams, eight teams, 4 schools, 8 teams, and maybe one JV on the very end of each thing. A lot of the schools in the other leagues just did head-to-head meets. Like if we bowled Trenton, that's all it would be, us and Trenton in the building. But
Okay.
we had 4 schools in the building. The schedule was weird. We never bowled at Score the whole season, and Score is one of our houses, and that's where regionals are at. I think there was an oversight there when they threw the schedule together as quick as they could throw the schedule together. Not having parents, that's a blessing and a curse, because when it's going bad, kids look for comfort. You know, I can give them comfort, but they look for their parents. When it's going good, they like the reinsurance. But I'll just say that we tried to Zoom everything. We tried to Zoom every meet, and we gave the parents the link. I didn't Zoom. Yesterday was position round. I didn't Zoom that one because they were allowing 2 parents in Thunderbolt because the governor just allowed 50% capacity. But some parents couldn't make it, and I didn't. My bad, my undersight, because I didn't Zoom that one. I guess I could have got Crowlack's connection. Yeah. You care to know how it went?
I mean,
Yeah, what happened? What was the result?
Well, we bowled for the title. Took a 6-4 lead into the Bakers, and then it didn't go so well. I mean, Thunderbolt gave us fits when we bowled there last time, but we bowled Etzel Ford, who only had 4. And I think part of that was motivation. But yesterday there was no excuse for motivation. I was telling, I have a nice relationship with Justin Krolak, and I was saying that he's 10 times the coach I'll ever be. You know, he doesn't buy that for a minute. But it went bad. It went bad. I mean, my best bowler bowled one of their worst bowlers. He was sacrificing the point, and the girl shot 370. Okay, 130 average, shot 370 for 2 games. Angelita was right with her, but lost both of them by less than a mark. The girl, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable the way bowling's a funny game, and once the momentum went not our way, starting the second game, even though we had a chance the second team game, both games, like the 4th frame, we had nice leads, but then strikes started to fall, and it is what it is. I mean, we got more to do. We got a regional tune-up Saturday, and then we got a regional tournament the following Saturday. So we've got 8 days now to get it together. Yeah. And, as bad as it was that day, it could be that good the next time we get out. Yeah. We average 1,600 a day. We average 800, Yesterday we shot 14. Okay. So it was bad. There's no hiding it. It was bad. But there were some bright spots. Angelita bowled well. Yeah. Gabby won the only 2 points. Yeah. Crazy. And Woodhaven, as Ken would say, Marcia. They won the JV, the varsity boys, and the varsity girls. They've got the program.
You got regionals coming up, not this weekend, but the following weekend?
We bowl on the Saturday, the boys bowl Friday.
Okay.
And there are no parents
For
parents
regionals.
at regionals. So I'll have the Zoom hooked up. And 4 games, 4 team games. It counts as all their singles, and it counts as our qualifiers. And instead of 3 teams making it to the finals, we get 2 teams making it to the finals. And not only that, they put 18 teams in our region instead of the normal 15 or 14, whatever it normally is. I think it was 12 normally, wasn't it?
I think so.
Now it's 18, and only 2 get to go instead of 3. Wow. So if Wyandotte makes it for a 6 year straight, those girls will have made me proud.
Well, I'll be the first to say it. You guys are gonna win.
Thank you.
Yeah, calling it out.
Where's the bowling thing? Right here. Right
calling
there.
the shot.
Knock all them down.
That's right.
What else we got going? It's been a long time. George has got a 1-year-old. He's having fun with that.
Yeah, it's fun having kids past the age of 35, and we got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So yeah, it's interesting. Just got them the 6 and 4 ready for spring soccer coming up here. So that's
Is that Cabrini soccer?
It is Cabrini soccer.
Hey,
they get them for that. So
maybe I'll do their awards.
yeah, they would do that, and it's like I said, the sense of normalcy. It's just not that we're back, but just kind of doing some of those things that you're seeing happening, and and sports has been one of those things that kind of it's such a big part of what we do. You're seeing a little bit of that, even though they're allowing only 1,000 people for like a baseball game. What you're seeing, but it's getting back. It's somewhat coming back. So.
Well, let's see. The high school sports, things are definitely going to be changing for the whole regionals, like I said, at my region. But the wrestling team, Wyandotte Wrestling, is solid. They're undefeated, 3-0. No, they're 6-0, 3-0 in the Downriver League. They're slapping everybody that they're running in their way. It's kind of nice. They beat Trenton 72-12.
Wow.
Almost like my bowler results. It was 22-8 for the record. It was 22-8 our bowling match against Woodhaven out of 30 points. And and they beat Carlson 44-30.
Okay.
They're doing well. I know George knows some of the coach.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Brett Green, who is actually the longest tenured varsity coach in the entire district. So Brett's been doing it for 18 years.
Okay.
Which wrestling is kind of that thing where you get into it and it's like you're going to do it for a long time because you probably don't think anybody else can take over after you. So, Brett's one of the longest in Downriver. I think the guy in Trenton is longer than Brett, but Brett's been doing it for 18 years. I talked to him actually today. They were Downriver League champs, and that's first time in a number of years since that happened. Things were obviously a little bit different for them. They could only see, I think, 4 teams at like one location. So, it was obviously a little bit different. Like their weekend, they're based on tournaments, going to these huge tournaments. But what they could only have is like 4 teams when they did that. So they went against like some higher ranked opponents. They went 7-4 on the weekend tournaments or the head-to-head. They lost the 4 teams they lost to are all state ranked. And like Brett said, they're young. They only have 2 seniors that were never really wrestlers before this. So all the kids they have on their team are young. Lou Peterson, who's also a football player, he went undefeated. Christian Byrne, who was a football player, went undefeated. And Xavier Byrne, his brother, also went undefeated. So they had 3 kids. I talked to them a little bit about some of the adversity they had to go through. They only had a week to prepare. They had 1 week in January to prepare before their first meet.
That was like our bowling was. We got started in January, and a week later the season started.
Yeah, super short how that happened. He said low numbers was an issue. They actually had to test twice a week for those kids. So, obviously you're more contact than some of the other sports, so they had to do testing twice a week. They were only allowed, 2 parents per event. And I know, Marty, we were talking beforehand, they actually changed that for the states, but state would usually be at Ford Field. I mean, they usually have all the schools huge. It's great to go to. Now they're doing it at the Wings Event Center. It is going to be live streamed, but it's only a 1-day event. Individuals is April 3rd. Team is March 30th. So that actually is like right during spring break week, which, that goes really right into, like, right after that is when the sports for spring start. So It's like all their events. So they're really, some of these kids are going to go literally from one sport to the next. But he said, they got through it just like all the other teams, and they still got a little while to go here. They got regionals coming up next week. So
they moved everything to like Grand Rapids, it seems like. Van Andel and the Wings Arena are doing wrestling. They're doing basketball.
Yep.
They also have Spartan Stadium. They're using some of that. The girls and boys bowling. I mean, we're bowling at Thunderbolt when we get to the States. And that's Division 1. Century Bowl's Division 2. Super Bowl in Canton. All huge houses.
Yep.
But they can only have so many spectators per person. At least with the basketball and wrestling now, at least both your parents can come watch.
Yeah.
Before it wasn't going to be that way.
Yeah, and I think live streaming is one of the big things that's become huge. I mean, none of us really heard of Zoom before this, and and really live streaming has become a huge thing. I mean, it was always kind of available for a lot of things. Sure. Obviously, football has had their state finals always televised, but now to kind of make up for parents not being able to be there, they're doing a lot of this for almost every sport. I think they're throwing that aspect into it, which before if you didn't go, you didn't know until it got posted online. So
yeah, that's true.
I definitely think you got to give kudos to that wrestling coach, though. To go undefeated in the pandemic and you only have 1 week to prepare.
Right.
Because wrestling is all about stamina and having the most breath that you could ever have in life.
Right, yeah.
Did they have the mask on like how the basketball team has them on?
So
like
that's a
down
good
under the
question.
nose?
I think that, and that's why I think the testing took place, because they didn't have to, I believe.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, so I don't think they had to during that, and that's why I think the testing, even middle school kids, I know were getting tested before, like the day of.
I got
Middle
you.
school kids had to test for wrestling because if you were 13 years or older, you had to get tested. If you were younger than that, you didn't. It was kind of weird how their rules were set up for it. But
That's like getting a shot at 65 and not 64.
yeah, exactly. So 1 year or making that difference. But yeah, so imagine those kids, and the coaches were the ones that had to give it to them. You know, a lot of times the coaches were the ones that had to learn how to give those testings to those kids so that they could do that. So
Wow.
That was my main complaint. Like, they changed the way we're doing the bowling. You know, we're bowling 4-team games. Singles is only 4 games. It's at the same time as the team game. Singles was the next day. You know, you bowled all day on Friday, and then Saturday, you bowled the 6 single games with 6 others of your thing. Now you only get 5 girls to count, but I sent a letter to the guy in charge, and I'm like, you know, you could just test us like the other sports, and you could, you know, we could bowl. We don't have to bowl on Friday, Saturday. We could bowl Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and just do different squads, and the high scores count. You know, you don't have to all be there at the same time to make. I've bowled many a tournament where it was 3 or 4 squads, and you might have C squad, and would C squad sometimes be the highest scoring? Sometimes, you know, A squad sometimes. You never knew. You know, and you just go there and bowl, and then your scores went against the guys that bowled earlier, and top 60 or 30 moved on.
Did you get a response back?
Oh, yeah. He was like, great idea, great concept.
Next
but,
year.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Yeah, next year.
That's
Yeah.
So the basketball's
yeah.
going pretty good?
Yeah.
Like, towards the end here?
I think basketball is interesting. You know, we talked about a little bit how the dates fell back. So it's not March Madness now, right? We got to change it to Amazing April, all right? Because the championship games will actually take place the second weekend, in April. So Amazing April. Amazing April tournament was tough for Wyandotte last week, and this week actually. The girls actually lost to Carlson 35-31, and then they on the 8th, and then they also lost to Taylor 30-20. Same tough week for the boys. They lost to Carlson 60-52, and then they lost to Taylor 72-71. And they definitely had a nail biter there. But hopefully they're working the kinks out, and in that way they're getting ready for Amazing April, right?
Do we know that how they're going about starting to eliminate? Is everybody like in football? Everybody got to play. Usually you do a pre-district or something for the lower teams.
yeah, I think they are doing something. So I haven't heard about I mean, they do have like the districts for basketball. I think it's still going to be the same. I haven't seen the schedule for that yet to kind of see how that's all going to work out. But I think that
Mr. George, I actually have
there
that.
you go.
All right. The districts are going to be at Southgate for both the boys and the girls. And there'll be Southgate, Riverview, Taylor, and Trenton will be in the girls' district. And then in the boys, the Titans are the host. And you got Allen Park, Lincoln Park, Riverview, and I'm sure we're saying Wyandotte are in the east. So they'll start March 22nd. That's when the districts will start. And then the regionals will be the following week.
Well, I'll tell you what, baseball starts on 4-5,
Yeah.
okay? And softball starts on 4-10 for Wyandotte. So if they have any kind of a run, they're going to still be playing, you know? Let's see. Yeah, semifinals are April 7th for states for the basketball, you know, and April 9th would be the finals. If you're fortunate enough to get there, you're going to be missing some kids because, you know, these kids play 3 sports, you know, some of them, not all of them, but a select few do.
Definitely.
You know, and the boys' team is competitive. Do you know?
They've been struggling this year. They've been getting better, right? You can tell by the Taylor score of 72-71, but they haven't put together 2 or 3 games at a time yet. So
No.
hopefully the run is coming for Amazing April.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm hoping to peak. I'm hoping to peak next weekend. You know, we got it's just hit the head pin, make the spare. It's an easy game, sometimes. And then the hockey team too. Our hockey team's mid-stride. They had a problem for about a couple of weeks scoring goals.
Yeah, and I think hockey's been hit a little bit with some of the COVID stuff that's been going on. I know some schools were closed down for a little while because of that, and I know a few of them were, and I know they're starting to get back, getting ready because, I know they got their regional coming up here. Wyandotte has theirs on 3/16 at Yak Arena. It's Temperance against Carlson, and then Wyandotte against Grosse Ile in the second game. That's the first game at 2, and then at 5 o'clock is the Bedford Carlson game. So that's coming up next week for them. And they've strung a couple. They won against Riverview on the 8th, and then lost to Ann Arbor Gabriel Richard 2-1 on the 10th. So they actually play tomorrow. It looks like they play this weekend against Edsel Ford. So that's going to be against Edsel Ford at the Dearborn Ice Skating Center on the 13th.
Edsel Ford or Dearborn United? Didn't they combine all those schools to make a hockey team?
I don't know if they at one time they did, and I don't know if they've separated some of those schools or if they're still a united program or not.
Speaking of hockey, there's the girls hockey team, high school hockey team now. Downriver was lucky enough to combine 5 or 6 schools downriver to get enough girls to make a team.
Okay.
And they're the Downriver United team. There's 2 Wyandotte girls on the team, Meg Callahan and Maddie Pembert. And girls hockey, that's a sticking point for me. My daughter played it till she was in 9th grade. And then in 10th grade, she was like, I can't do this no more. I can't go drive out to Novi to play in a travel team while I'm doing volleyball and trying my studies and everything else. And it was tough. So she gave it up, and Dad did a happy dance because there is a future for if you're in the Olympics and stuff like that. But it's great. It's a great sport. I think my daughter was a great hitter really good hitter in softball because of her hand-eye in hockey. I watched her do some things with that puck on the end of her stick that I couldn't believe. It was NHL caliber. Somebody's 5 feet away and blast it, and she just stop it and go. Catch it like that. And they do that stuff at the NHL level. She didn't do that all the time, but she was a ballerina on her skates. She was a really good skater. I'm guilty of that. We would have her walking in size 2 skates in the living room at 2 years old. My son too. My son was a really fast skater. He didn't have the coordination so much, but he could go up and down a swing and fill. He liked to ref anyway. At 10 years old, he was reffing hockey. He'd rather do that. You know what? It's done him good in life because he's an auditor now for Delta. So it all worked out well. But the girls team, they play out of Southgate, and they've got games. They're playing. Yesterday they played Troy United, and there wasn't a contest. They slaughtered them. They were playing around after that. So it's good. The girls that enjoy hockey, it'll give them something to do, And they get together. They meet the girls from the other cities. And they're talking next year they may have more girls that hit 9th grade, So that's cool. Their next game's Monday versus Livonia, which that's got to be a Livonia United team too with Churchill and all those other schools up there. But so as we wrap up, we're getting close to wrapping up. Let's see, our future. There's been a lot happened in the last 5 months. One of them being like you can use your phone now and you can bet on anything you want. Now, I'm not a big fantasy football player anymore like you, and I'm not a big FanDuel kind of guy. I wish I'd have bet the Masters last time it was around because my guy won, Dustin Johnson. But you have any experience with that? Either one of you?
I don't. I see a lot of the stuff that's out there, and it just, it's. I just try to keep my head above water with everything else. That just you see the commercials for a lot of those things out there, but
they're selling out on TV. Every commercial. The local stations now have never gotten more money because every 5 minutes it's FanDuel, DraftKings, Poker Stars. I like to play poker. I got a couple of free sites. I like to do that. No. I don't like to I'd rather sit down with my money in front of me.
Right. And I'm guilty. I'm one of those that play it, right? The FanDuel basketball and football and whatnot. And it's been great. I mean, you don't have to go to the casino. You don't have to leave your home. You can just bet it. You can bet as little as you want or as much as you want. You know, you just bet responsibly.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, but I think it brings it more. It'll bring a casual fan into it because you're paying attention, and you got in-game stuff where you can get really good odds. It is phenomenal. I don't know.
Oh, it's going to evolve to the point where you could bet, like in a football game, next play is going to be a run, or next play is going to gain 10 or more yards. Yeah. You'll be able to do that instantly with the access that we have. It's gonna move that way.
Marty, they actually have that on the FanDuel app now.
Do they?
And it's a free piece. It's free to play it, but then there's prizes for if you do well. If you do well on calling what the next play is going to be, you know. So it's nice. And for a guy that's a play-by-play guy like George, I'm sure that you could probably see what's run coming.
Yeah,
pass coming.
It depends. You know, you think you do, and then they do something completely different.
Yeah, my daughter, I want to learn to play poker. I want to learn to play poker. You know, so sometimes she sits in my seat and does it instead of me. You know, with my buddies. As we wrap up, don't forget, you just saw on the screen, localsportswrapup@gmail.com. Email us if you want to get a hold of us. I enjoyed this threesome here we have going on. We are coming back next Wednesday to do this again. And Ken Brown, George Perdue, I'm Marty Chinesky. I want to say hi, Mom. Mom's rehabbing now, getting stronger. Had her shots already. Get your shots, wear your mask as soon as the opportunity arises. Social distance, we have our mask right here. We got to put them on as soon as the camera goes off. George, it was a pleasure. I enjoyed this. Ken, always, you know, now I could just slide out of here and these two guys could take control. And, you know, if I'm on vacation one time, the show must go on.
Yeah, it works.
I'm going to give one shout out real quick here to swimming. I know we didn't mention swimming. Hudson Hill broke the pool diving record at Woodhaven yesterday. They're finishing up. They got leagues tomorrow, the main heats for swimming. So I just want to make mention of that for
Hudson Hill. Hudson Hill.
Yep, sophomore.
You'll be on the wall at their school.
Yes, and I think he's broken numerous diving records already for Wyandotte as well.
Nice. I always enjoyed diving.
Oh,
I wasn't a squid though. I never joined the swim team, but I enjoyed all that stuff.
Yeah,
Young
fun.
Marty was skinnier.
We all are. We all used to be.
So, I'm Marty Chinesky, Ken Brown, George Perdue. We'll see you next week. Local Sports Wrap Up. Thanks for watching. Catch us on YouTube.